Have you ever wondered how it would be if Pokemon turned into somewhat of a dark and gritty game? I haven't either, until I played Pokemon Colosseum. This game takes the ideas of friendships and compassion with Pokemon and turns it on its head. Before we even discuss what Pokemon Colosseum is, and trust me, there is a lot to talk about, we need to discuss who made this game, and no, it wasn't Game Freak. It was made by a small company known as Genius Sonority. Before I also begin this as well, I just want to let you know that there will be some footage that would kind of be as transition footage. I just want to let you know that this footage is being used for my playthrough series, so there might be a little bit of commentary as the video goes was in my playthrough series, if that makes sense. So I didn't really start a new game for this review, I just took what footage I had for my playthrough series and I'm using it for the review. Please enjoy. Genius Sonority is a Japanese video game company made up of programmers who worked on both Dragon Quest and Pokemon games in the past, so they do understand a bit of how turn-based RPGs are supposed to work. They first began operations in July 2001 to develop Pokemon games for the home consoles. They actually got their start up by Nintendo with Yamauchi's Q-Fund, a funding used for Nintendo company startups. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are both shareholders for Genius Sonority. Their first ever Pokemon game was Pokemon Colosseum. Now, I know what you are all asking in this point in the video. What is Pokemon Colosseum? And the best way to answer this is explaining this whole game in its entirety. There will be spoilers for this decade-old game. I'm going to be talking about the story, music, gameplay, characters, and more. So with all that being said, welcome to my first ever in-depth review of Pokemon Colosseum. Pokemon Colosseum was released for the Nintendo GameCube on November 21st, 2003 for Japan, March 22nd, 2004 in North America, and May 14th, 2004 in Europe. When the game first came out, it sold more in the West than it did in Japan, which is a huge surprise since Pokemon is a moneymaker in Japan. Japan worships the almighty Pikachu. The game takes place in the Ora region, a desert region for all eyes to see. The Ora region is the best region that has ever been made in a Pokemon game. Why? Because it's so new when it comes to Pokemon. Think about it, a whole new region that is in the desert. When you think about the mainline Pokemon games, you think of big cities, oceans to explore, nature to walk around, but not in this game. This game takes a turn into the dark side of Pokemon. The game starts off with a cutscene. You see this roguelike character rush into what looks like a building built into the cannon. And boom! An explosion happens and he grabs a snag machine and rushes out of there as a group of Team Snagums runs out to chase you. Jumping onto his vehicle with his Umbreon as Espeon waits patiently, your character driving away and making one last explosion. He gives the coolest smile into the camera and zooms away. What a great start to a Pokemon game. The main character, named Wes, arrives to Outskirtstan, pretty much where you will be starting your adventure. The music in this area is very calming, and even a bit western, like the harmonica playing as you hear the wind in the desert. It's awesome! I wish more sound design choices were just like this. Wes walks to the front of the restaurant. Yes, this abandoned, rusty looking train part is a restaurant, where you catch two goons talking about something and they leave in this futuristic looking vehicle with the bag in the back awkwardly moving. As you go inside, the TV plays and talks about how there was an explosion at Team Snag'em hideout, the literal explosion that Wes has caused. You can use this location to shop for items and later Pokeballs, but if you leave one of the restaurant Patreons, Willy will bow to you outside, and this is where this game gets from great to amazing. Generation 3 of Pokemon introduced double battles. Two Pokemon from either trainers are being used for battle. Pokemon Colosseum is based around double battles, and for someone who loves this type of gameplay from Pokemon, I couldn't be more than content. Wes has two Pokemon, Umbreon and Espeon, two of the Eevee evolutions from Generation 2, both in the mid-20 levels. These two Pokemon, if you play the game in this manner, are pretty much yin and yang. They go together perfectly even though one of them is more dominant over the other. Of course, you can always switch both of them or one of them out for another Pokemon. The gameplay in this game is superb, but also slower than the other Pokemon gameplay. When you select the type of attacks you want to pull off, the camera zooms in on your Pokemon, launch the attack to the opponent's Pokemon, getting hit by the attack. The animations in this game do make the battles play out longer than it sounds at times, but with only a couple of moves to knock out the other trainer's Pokemon, This introduction battle is a cakewalk. After you defeat Willy, you gain access to Phoenix City. Now, Phoenix City to me is something that is the essence of beauty. It is an oasis city, of course emphasis on the city part, but Phoenix City is beautiful. It has water streaming down from the Colosseum from the top all the way towards the bottom of the city. Since the city is designed to go straight down from top to bottom, the music of course that you are hearing in the background is calming at first, but about 50 seconds in, the song gets more upbeat in a sense that makes you feel like you are right at home. As Wes gets to Phoenix City, he runs right into the two shady people back at Outskirts Stand. The bag is still moving, and the shady people are trying to control it, but notice you staring right at them. One of them, named Foley, attacks you and goes right into a Pokemon battle. These battles are of course designed to be easy, using two of the exact same Pokemon, where they're both either the same or lower level as your current team is just to get you, as a player, more acquainted with the battle system that this game has to offer. Of course, with this easy battle in the bag, no pun intended of course, and the two shady guys talk about how they are in trouble with the boss, they run, and you untie the bag, and what the heck? There's a person in this bag, but not just any ordinary person. Rui is how we will acknowledge her in this review, has the special ability to track which Pokemon is Shadow and which isn't. She talks about how she saw more Shadow Pokemon in Power City, of course an area we will get to, and she got kidnapped. Yes, there's kidnapping in a Pokemon game. Which I think is kind of funny, because think about it, Pokemon has had to kind of change its appeal to certain audiences, say for example in the West, since we're a bit more sensitive to this kinds of topics. For example, in the past, in Pokemon Red, Blue, and I even believe it's Yellow, the old man who shows you how to catch a Pokemon, in the Japanese version, he's drunk and passed out on the ground. In the Western version, he needs his coffee and he's sleepy. In the anime, I believe it's a ranger, he points a gun right at Ash. This is the Japanese version of course. Which in the West, they had to completely change that version. But I think maybe globally, or maybe it's just because of due to Western culture, they definitely had to change Jinx's appearance entirely. Because they didn't want to fear the backlash of being racist with blackface and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really funny that there's actually kidnapping in a Pokemon game. Granted, it's not a mainline Pokemon game, and they actually kept it for the Western release. So, I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Rui talks to you about going to see the mayor. Before I get back into more story details, let's talk about what you can do in Phoenix City either now or later in the game. There is a gym here. It is not what you are probably thinking. When you think of Pokemon, you think of Gym 8 leaders, and after you defeat them, you obtain their gym badges. Not in this game. This gym is literally made to only test your skills. You can battle up against 4 trainers and then Justy, the gym leader. And man, his difficulty spikes up, but not as much as you might think. You only have to progress a bit farther to easily beat him, so nothing too challenging. Now a bit later on in the story mode, you will gain access to battle in the Colosseums. Phoenix City's Colosseum is currently closed until you advance the story. The Pokemon in this Colosseum are currently level 40, but they are quite easy to take out. The Phoenix City Colosseum is truly a remarkable looking Colosseum. Water flowing down from the building into a huge pool of water as the camera goes from top to bottom of the Colosseum before the battle even starts. This camera work is very important because it shows that the Colosseums have actual life to them. It isn't just an open area where you and the trainer fight. You are fighting to entertain a group of people watching. This is something very important to Pokemon Colosseum. The really cool thing about Pokemon Colosseum as well, it isn't like the mainline Pokemon games, where you go from town to town, city to city, and you are just in those areas for one part of the game, and never have to go back to them. Each city or town in Pokemon Colosseum has something for you to keep returning to. Back to the main story. As you approach the mayor's house, which of course isn't hard to find, a long, white-haired man comes out and notices you. He pays some attention to you, but walks away. He will be very important later on. The mayor, Escade, is inside. Escade is a bit of a burly man with crazy looking hair. This is the part in the game where you learn about Shadow Pokemon. Pokemon whose doors to their hearts have been sealed shut, which makes them act hostile to both other Pokemon and even trainers. Well, rarely trainers. This is something that is man-made by, of course, an evil group. They only know one move when you first snag them, and that is Shadow Rush, which does inflict self-damage as you use them more in battle or even in your party. Their hearts open up and learn more moves. Also, when they are Shadow Pokemon, they won't gain any experience points if used in battle until after you purify them.
Trying to make sure I don't make it faint, so I'll just, to be on the safe side, try and throw a great ball at it. Avery threw a snag ball.
After you get done talking to the mayor, you will be directed to the Coliseum to prove your skills. Like I have said earlier, the Coliseum is currently closed, and you will have to walk back outside. This time, 3 members of Team Snag'em will approach you, and this is where us as the players learned that Wes was part of Team Snag'em. One of the current members challenges you into a battle, this time using 2 different Pokemon, a Koffing and a Corphish, both yet again very easy to take out. After the battle, Rui doesn't care that you are part of Team Snag'em. She notices the snag machine and has the idea to see if you can buy any Pokeballs. You will learn that the Ora region has a shortage of Pokeballs, a Pokemon region that doesn't have that many Pokeballs to sell to trainers. Kind of a weird story pattern in my opinion, but someone says to go back to Outskirts Stand and the clerk there will sell you some. Return back to Phoenix City, and the lady at the entrance will warn you that a bunch of shady looking men have gone to the mayor's house. As you rush into the mayor's house, you will run into one of the best antagonists in a Pokemon game, Mirabee. He has 5 Cypher Peons standing right behind him. Mirabee is a strange character. He has a giant afro and likes to dance even when there is no music playing. It's probably playing in his head. He forces his men to attack you into a Pokemon battle. You will be going up against Foley, again with a Whismur and Lotad this time around. Easy battle, easy wins. But after you will be going up against his partner, Trudley. His team is a bit more serious, with Duskull Spinarak and the Shadow Makuhita. Shadow Pokemon in this game are just like wild Pokemon. In this game, you are sending them away from their trainers to purify their hearts, and yes, you get to keep them. So keep their health low and put some sort of status ailment on them like sleep or paralysis, and if you make any of them faint, you have more chances in the story to recapture them. But with Makuhita being the first Shadow Pokemon, you get it quite easily. With Mirabee's men out of the way, you cannot leave Phoenix City until you challenge one of the different mystery troopers to a battle. Each trooper is a different color, red, blue, and green. Whichever one you challenge to a battle, you have a chance to capture the second evolutions of the Gen 2 starter Pokemon. With Mystery Trooper Verde, who is green, you can capture Bayleaf. With Mystery Trooper Rosso, who is red, you can capture Quilava. And with Mystery Trooper Bluno, who is blue, you can capture Croconaw. You can only challenge one of these trainers at this point. The other 2 will come later on in the game. As you leave Phoenix City, you will now gain access to an area called Construction Lot. If you are confused, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is just a construction lot with rust and meadow with workers working on something big. There is no music, just the sound of the wind in the desert. Leave this area and you will gain access to the next big area, Pirate Town.
Aw, Mr. Johnson, give a man a break here. I keep telling you, I don't know anything. That better be true, Kale. If you're trying to con me, I'll know about it. Mr. Johnson, sir, I wouldn't think about lying to you. You got to believe me, right? Alright, fine. I'll let you off easy today. See you. I know, Johnson to me looks like a girl with, like, really short hair. What a nitwit. Of course I haven't got a thing to tell you.
Pirate Town starts off with a completely gullible cop trying to gain answers from the local thug. Of course, nothing happens and the gullible cop walks away. Pirate Town is full with a bunch of trainers, so at this point in the game it is wise for Wes to get more training in. As you walk into the battle square, which is in the shape of a circle, which doesn't make any sense, this is where winners of the Pirate Coliseum obtain Shadow Pokemon. These trainers really aren't difficult and it is quite easy to capture each of their Shadow Pokemon. To progress in the story, we have to talk to the huge character, this both literally and metaphorically, Dukin. Dukin is pretty much in charge of Pirate Town, but it has gone to shambles thanks to the criminal group Cypher. Dukin doesn't want to engage with us at first, so we gain access to his kid's hideout, which is behind a bookcase. All these characters here play a more important role as the story continues. We go back to Dukin's office and he is talking to a kid named Silva, who is complaining about Mirabee being in Pirate Town. Silva runs away, all angry that Dukin won't do anything about it. Now, to gain access to the Coliseum, we will still need to talk to the thug who we saw at the very beginning of our entrance to Pirate Town. Let me just also stop and say that Pirate Town's music is kind of dumb. Look, Pokemon Coliseum has the weird mixture of both Eastern and Western music put together. Let's compare the 2 songs of Pirate Town, which is a more Western type music, and the Get Village, which we will get to later in the review, having a more Eastern type music. is quite remarkable that both themes can fit this type of game. It is truly inspiring, and I wish more games in both the past and present would follow suit. One last thing I want to point out about Pirate Town, it is in the jail. If you actually come into the jail, you will see that Mirabé's posse is in the jail since they turned themselves in since they didn't want to get chewed out by Mirabé again. Mirabé sounds like a terrible boss, but yet again, if you have two members who keep failing, then yeah, I would be mad at them all the time as well. And the other cell is just a no-name thug. Open the door after you get the jail keys and he runs for it. Even if the cops are in the office area where the front door is, he still runs for it and they do nothing about it. Now, at this point, we can go to the Coliseum, talk to one of the NPCs in the lobby, and he tells us that the thug at the entrance of Pirate Town is named Kale. Go up to Kale and you can verse against him. Kale is actually a bit more stronger compared to what you have versed against in the past, so don't get me wrong, he isn't overpowered, but does give you a bit more of a challenge. At this point, you will gain access to the Coliseum, but as you make your way up there will be a small scene where an engineer comes out of the building and collapses on the ground. Silva, the silver-haired kid who was in Dukin's office, stole a piece of the equipment and has turned off all power to the Coliseum, making it inaccessible to fight in. So many different problems stand in your way to try and gain access to the first Coliseum that you can fight in. It is a bit annoying, but this issue is actually easy. But which area would have a lot of rust and metal to it? If you thought outside of outskirts stands, good guess, but you are wrong. It is actually the construction lot in the top right hand corner. Silva left the gear there and scrambled. With the piece in hand, Wes goes back into the windmill building and puts the gear back. Dukin is there and actually asks a request from Wes, since he believes Wes isn't any normal trainer. Now, with all of these issues and problems out of the way, we can finally go into the Coliseum.
I'm sorry, but help me. Alright, yeah, let's do it.
Pirate Coliseum is very dirty and rusty looking. The dome building actually looks like it's falling apart, but the aesthetic of this type of Coliseum fits into what Pirate Town actually is, a town for lowlives and thugs. There is no shadow Pokemon here in the Coliseum battles, so you just fight your way through easy battles and beat the champ. With the champion defeated, Wes finally gains access to what we all thought was the abandoned building, but this building is actually where Cypher is handing out shadow Pokemon to the winners of the Coliseum. But of course, with wanted posters of Wes and Rui, the two Cypher peons discover who you are and verse against you in battle. Both have shadow Pokemon and both are very easy to catch.
Alright, let's do this. 1. Are you kidding me? Ugh. Alright, Yama stepped out of confusion. I feel a little bit better about that, but still. Surskit, I did. Oh, okay. Thanks.
With both Cypher peons out of the way, Dukin and his gang appear, and Dukin gives us the news that his Plusle has been taken by Cypher to turn into a shadow Pokemon. Let me take a moment to talk about how eerie and disgusting this building is. There is rusty buckets and trash all around the corners. The walls have caved in certain areas, and the music makes the building feel very disturbing. Like if you were caught in that building, you would be murdered and never found ever again. Yes, there are trainers to verse against as you make your way to the very top, and no, not all of them have shadow Pokemon. Unlike the two in command at the very top, Mirabé Peon Wraith and Mirabé Peon Firma, with shadow Pokemon Remoraid and Shadow Mantine. Both I found easy to capture, but with Remoraid having a lower level of 20, while you could be in the mid-30s, is a bit overwhelming to make sure you don't faint it.
Oh, right here. Of course you did. And at the end of the battle, you did. Nice, a crit, Umbreon. Played your defeated Mirabé Peon Firma. What just happened? Unbelievable 2.
After this mini boss fight with the two Mirabé peons, Mirabé appears but on the TV screen behind them. Wes and Rui have to go into the cave next to the pirate building and verse against him. Also, Dukin forgives Silva for taking the gear and yada yada yada, we're all friends again. The cave is what I would say is the very first dungeon in Pokemon Coliseum. It isn't big, it is not difficult to get lost in, There are trainers almost on every single corner, and there are a few shadow Pokemon to snag, but nothing really too difficult. Now, at the end of this cave is Merriby himself. He has 4 Ludicolios, who are water-like ducks that are both water and grass type, dancing around him. And no, none of these Pokemon are shadow Pokemon. The battle with Merriby is something very special. Just have a listen to Merriby's theme. Remember when I talked about Merriby's personality, that he hears music in his head and stuff like that? This is probably the theme that he's listening to that's going on in his head constantly. Also, another jab earlier when I was talking about his personality, he does have 4 Ludicolios that fit his personality. His last Pokemon, which is a Shadow Sudowoodo, also fits the personality as well. They are both really weird, but Sudowoodo is a good Pokemon and on a higher level than majority of your current party. This battle can be a bit difficult if you don't come prepared, but it is possible to defeat him with either Espeon, Umbreon, and a couple of Shadow Pokemon. Merriby likes to use Rain Dance, which powers up Ludicolios since they are water type. It is an easy pattern to learn and easy to navigate through. With Merriby defeated, he runs away, and Plusle is in the back room ready to be saved. After this battle, Duke and Plusle are reunited and we gain access to a brand new area. And no, this would not be the last time we would be in Pirate Town, but our next area is in the luscious and very calm town of Agate Village. Now, before I explain the importance of this village, just listen to this beautiful theme. Agate Village is very beautiful for a couple of reasons. 1, it is where Rui's grandparents live, and 2, it holds the relic where we can purify shadow Pokemon. Also the home to the mythical Pokemon Celebi. But you can't gain access to the ancient relic until you talk to Rui's grandparents. As Rui is explaining the shadow Pokemon, the man who blocked the entrance comes running in. Cypher has attacked another town. Leading to the ancient relic, there's a small cave path. There are Cypher enemies to battle, but none of them have a shadow Pokemon. With these easy battles out of the way, one last battle is with a silver uniformed Cypher peon named Scrub. Yes, Scrub is his name. But before Wes can even battle him, he goes up against Rui's grandfather and his level 50 Pikachu. Now, if you think the level 50 Pikachu wins, you're wrong.
Tell me how this makes any sense whatsoever. Pikachu's health went all the way down there, and he's only using Quick Attack on Hitmontop. Nothing, no Thunder, nothing like that. Oh wow. Oh jeez, another Quick Attack. This is going on longer than it usually does. Oh my gosh, a critical hit! Oh, whoa, is he going to take him down? Is he going to take him down? Oh, almost there, let me see. Nope, of course not. I wonder if he ever loses. I thought he was going to right there. Scrub. I thought he was going to lose, and I was like, okay, what happens? Does he just rush him off and I can't get...
I guess with Shadow Rush, Scrub's Hitmontop takes him out easily. Rui's grandfather isn't a good Pokemon trainer. And another thing I need to talk about, notice how majority of the Shadow Pokemon in this game are from Gen 2. The reason for this is because at the time that this game was released, there was no way to bring Gen 2 Pokemon to Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald. This was the best idea that Game Freak could come up with. I mean, it isn't the worst at the time, but it does suck for the people who never bothered with this game. But back to the fight with Scrub, his Shadow Hitmontop is really the only Pokemon to look out for. The rest are quite easy to defeat. After the battle, Rui's grandmother, Bailu, finds a tablet about purifying shadow Pokemon, and Rui's grandfather, Egon, sends you away on a task to learn more information about shadow Pokemon from one of his neighbors. Just simple busy work. Upon returning, you get your first ever email from your PDA. I mean, I guess it's better late than never. You get word from Dukin that Mount Battle is under attack from, you guessed it, Cypher. At this point in the game, you do gain access to start purifying shadow Pokemon, if their hearts are open, and honestly there are quite few easy tricks on purifying them quickly. Finding a certain spot in a Gift Village and rubber banding your GameCube controller so Wes is walking helps to open up their hearts, or just use them in battle. But with some of your shadow Pokemon hearts being purified, you can now teach them moves, and they are now capable of gaining EXP in battle.
This now. For some strange reason, Bayleaf's leaves around her neck look like rupees from like The Legend of Zelda. Don't know why. It reminds me of that. Oh wow.
Mount Battle is a touchy subject for players in this game. You either love it or you hate it. I actually enjoy it. You verse against 100 trainers. For every 10 trainer you get Mount Battle currency and be able to save your progress and come back to whenever you want. But since Mount Battle is under attack, we cannot take on the Mount Battle challenge. We have to save Mount Battle and verse against 10 Cypher enemies, 1 through 9. They don't have any Shadow Pokemon, so it just leaves us until the end with Cypher admin Dakim. This battle is one of the worst battles of all of Pokemon. He does have a pattern, which is one of the worst, and I recommend bringing Mischievous, since she is immune to Earthquake and can avoid the attack. Dakim's shadow Pokemon is none other than the legendary beast Entei. Entei is a huge fan favorite with Gen 2. The problem with this battle is if Earthquake is used on him, he instantly faints, so 9 times out of 10 but leaves behind a special item called F-Disc. What is this item used for? We will get to that shadow Pokemon even if the 3 shadow bars are still filled up.
Celebi. I don't know, people will say that Celebi looks like an onion. And it kind of does, but I always picture Celebi as like a little fairy, like little fairy boy who like is kind of annoying.
Now, there is a bit more busy work, so let me quickly explain them. Go back to Pirate Town, get the jail key that I talked about earlier in this review, talk to Dukin, explore the mysterious lab, go back to Dukin, from Reth Infirma, and now back into the pirate building. Going all the way to the right is now starts on a giant TV for the whole population of the Under to see. They are reporting that 2 people are wanted and they have just arrived in the Under. And of course, they are talking about Wes and Rui. The best way to describe the Under is a deep, dark, gritty population that is right underground above. Let's have a listen to the main theme of the city and tell me you don't get a sense of dark and gritty. Just by heading to the hotel, another broadcast will happen, and this time it is Lady Venus, the next Cypher admin that Wes and Rui have to go after, and this is where the writing of these characters falls apart. They are all generic cliches. Dakim is the powerhouse, Venus is the beauty, and Ein is the brains. All cliche characters that are literally only one dimension. But back to the story. Wes and Rui have to talk to a kid working in a basement in some rush shop. Wes and Rui have to give a certain part to Nets. There is a house in the far upper left corner of the Under that has a huge antenna. This is the Kid Grid. Dukin's kids are part of this organization. They are trying to stop Venus and save Pokemon from turning into shadow Pokemon. After you leave the house, there will be a scene with Nascor. This is the first look that you get of the silver-haired character you met for a tiny bit back at Phoenix City. After giving the part to Net, people in the Under think that Silva is the spy, so they captured him and put him into a jail-like facility just at the entrance of the Under. Kind of a strange area to put a spy at. I would think, oh, I don't know, with Lady Venus. Both of the Cypher peons will challenge you to a battle, and only one has a shadow Pokemon of Lydian. After defeating these 2, Silva will give you the R-Disc that moves the platform in the very middle of the Under. You have access to the Coliseum, which you won't be able to participate in until after you defeat Venus. And if you move to the right, you go into the TV station where Lady Venus is located. Lady Venus is, in my opinion, an alright battle. Her only strategy is for your Pokemon to fall in love with her Pokemon by using the move Attract. Take out her Pokemon quickly so this doesn't happen. Venus has a Shadow Suicune, which for me in my playthrough series, I caught it with one try. But if you cannot do that, then quickly take out Steelix if she is on the field, since she knows Earthquake can take out Suicune very quickly.
I might get her, but I'm not. 1, 2, 3. Dude, what the?
After defeating Lady Venus, we give chase. She runs away down to the bullet train that leads to the Shadow Pokemon Lab. She takes the elevator, making it inaccessible to Wes and Rui, so they have to take the stairs with a bunch of trainers with Shadow Pokemon. These fights are super easy and shouldn't take that much time. Once you get down to the bottom and where the train is located at, enter it and go out the other side. Venus thinks that it was very smart of her to exit the bullet train and runs away. Give chase to her, but not too long. She will drop the subway key and you will have access to the Shadow Pokemon Lab.
We found one subway key, which I guess she dropped after she showed us, so... Doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but whatever. The key is missing. This can't be operated. Subway key. Use. And now we are... going. I would say now we are lift off, but that doesn't make any sense.
Once you hit your destination, 2 Peon troops will quickly discover Wes and Rui and run away into the lab. As you approach the door,
whoa, gee!
They explode the Shadow Pokemon Lab basement entrance. Upon entering the room, the peons drop the main gate key to the lab. I guess Cypher is really bad at dropping items on the floor, since this is the only way to progress the story. Kids game, am I right? Finally, the mysterious lab is now the Shadow Pokemon Lab. This lab isn't a huge chunk of the game. It's just like all the other times of Pokemon games, when you enter an enemy hideout, you have to look for either a key or even a card that unlocks all the doors. Same situation in the game. This lab is filled with Shadow Pokemon and even trainers who don't have Shadow Pokemon. The cool thing that I love about the Shadow Pokemon Lab is the music as you are hearing in the background. It is very jazzy for an EVE Organization's hideout. You are going against trainers that have electric type Pokemon, like the scientists. The other group of trainers is the Cypher Peon troops who drop in from the ceiling. Weird. But as Wes and Rui make their way through the lab, they run right into Scrub again. This is one of the times that you can try and get him on top if you have not already in the past. Cypher Admin Ein, the person who has made the Ein files that you collect throughout the game, or didn't since they are self-explanatory, is at the very end of this lab. He uses mainly electric type Pokemon. His Shadow Pokemon is of course the best legendary beast from Gen 2 in my opinion, Raikou. Ein's strategy, however, is just like Mirror Beast. He uses Rain Dance since that will power up his electric type moves and unleash everything he has on Wes and Rui. But in my honest opinion, this battle is really easy.
One. Ah. One. 2. 1, 2, 3. Finally, yes! Thank you! Oh my gosh!
With Ein defeated and the data ROM from the lab in our possession, we take it back to Net and gain a list of Shadow Pokemon. But of course, he has to retrieve it back since it has been deleted. The next stop is the construction site, or I mean built Realgam Tower. Realgam Tower is the last location of the main story Pokemon Coliseum. It is this beautiful and clean looking tower, with an upbeat tune at the entrance. But as you enter, Wes and Rui quickly discovered that this tower is part of Cypher, and the evil Cypher hideout tune turns on. Realgam Tower has several parts to it. The first part is writing these electric paths to each admin to gain a key to gain access to the main Realgam Tower. This is also a good spot to recapture any of the legendary or other Shadow Pokemon that you failed to capture in the past. All the admins have different Pokemon, besides the Shadow Pokemon if you didn't catch them before, but they use the same strategy as before. Venus holds the blue key, Ein holds the yellow, Dakim holds the red, and Mirror B holds the green key. With all these keys, we can gain access to the main tower, but before we do, Rui's grandfather wants to give us something very special back in the Git village. Now usually in Pokemon games, the Master Ball is handed down to us as trainers. In Pokemon Coliseum, that is no different. Rui's grandfather gives us the ultimate Pokeball, the Master Ball, a Pokeball that can capture any Pokemon with no fail. Now in my playthrough, I didn't even have to use it, since I felt like there was no need for me to, but there are a couple of Pokemon that you can use it on, or even one of the Shadow Legendary Beasts that you are having a hard time to catch. Back at Realgam Tower, Net will be done with the Shadow Pokemon list. This isn't the whole list, so don't be too excited about that. This is pretty much the main floor of the tower. All these Pokemon either work for Cypher or have some sort of connection with them, besides the guard of the front door. That's Silva, man in disguise, I am telling you. These trainers can be used as EXP gain, so I would take advantage of that and go against each of them. Wes and Rui head to the next area and runs into Nascor, the silver-haired man that we have seen here and there throughout the whole game. He recognizes us and heads up the elevator. As we approach the empty elevator shaft, a familiar face comes riding down. Gonzap, the Snag'em head himself, is here. He tells Wes and Rui that Team Snag'em and Seifer were partners in all of this. Team Snag'em would steal the Pokemon and Seifer would turn them into Shadow Pokemon. I feel like at this point, we as trainers and even players of the game have known this ever since the start. So this news that Team Snag'em was quiet in the shadows and Seifer was doing all of the work, yeah, I never bought that for 1 second. Gonzap has a very stacked team. I was very shocked by this, and yes, he does have a Shadow Skarmory, who was very difficult to snag in my playthrough series.
1. Ah, come on. It was shaking twice before. Now it's just back to 1. 1. 1. 1. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, finally!
After Gonzap is defeated, Wes and Rui finally head to the next and final area of this game. Look, this part is 6 battles of back-to-back trainers. There is no way to heal or even save, and there is no way of knowing that. I wish Genius Sorority had given players a warning before entering this elevator, but I would digress. Each of the first 4 trainers are actually weaker than Gonzap, but each have a Shadow Pokemon. These battles weren't that difficult, but before I got to this point, I grinded at Mount Battle for many hours, so I was way more prepared than I had to be. And at long last, the battle with head of Seifer himself, Nascor, commences. This battle is special for several reasons. 1. Notice how there is no music. There are only people cheering. This leaves an uneasy and eerie feeling caused throughout the whole game. We heard songs like... But with this battle, there is no music. Also, his team is stacked. He has great Pokemon that are more of the Psychic, Ghost, Fire, and Ice type. The coolest thing about this battle though, Nascor has a Shadow Metagross. That is one of my most favorite Pokemon ever in existence. So this battle against Nascor means a lot to me personally. This battle marks the end of Seifer. Or that is what we would believe. But Nascor is apologizing. But to who? As the camera angle shifts, the tune in the bottom half of his cade can be seen coming forward. He approaches Wes and Rui and gives some dialogue that we all should be surprised to see him, and that Wes and Rui ruined his plans as Shadow Pokemon, since SK turns into Evans, the head boss of Seifer. Now, for a child, this could be a huge plot twist, something that they could not have seen coming, but I will even contradict my own thought and say that even a child could see this coming. Remember when we went to see the mayor in Phoenix City? Nascor popped out of the entrance as we approached. And throughout the whole game we saw Nascor talking to the Seifer admins about the upcoming part of the plan. This is easy to put 2 and 2 together. This isn't creative or good writing. It's actually mediocre at best, because throughout the whole game it should have been a mystery on who the main boss was, not these huge tidbits giving it away. But on to the battle. Eva's team, just like Nascor's, is very stacked as well, but I found this battle to be more difficult. Like a lot more difficult. The difficulty spiked pretty hard with this battle. With a team that has different types, you might be switching in and out different Pokemon. On your team, Eva's Shadow Pokemon is Tyranitar, one of the most powerful pseudo-legendaries during this time, so it is very important that you would want to capture this Pokemon, since it would be an amazing addition to your team. With Evis defeated, Duke and Silva, the Kid Grid, and even the Sheriff and Johnson from Power Town joined Wes and Rui in the Coliseum. As Nascor and Evis tried to escape in what I can only assume is a helicopter, it is struck down by no other Pokemon than the legendary bird Ho-Oh. I guess throughout the whole game, it has been watching both Wes and Rui throughout their whole adventure. As the credits begin to roll and one of the best Pokemon themes come on, Pokemon Coliseum comes to a complete close. Well, no it doesn't. After the credits, Wes and Rui are back on outskirts stands. The after game for Pokemon Colosseum is actually quite impressive. The end game is all about capturing the last of the Shadow Pokemon and doing things you haven't got around to, like battle in Colosseums or take on Mount Battle, but I won't go into great detail about these points, since it would turn more into a walkthrough than a review so quickly. Starting off in Pirate Town, we gain answers from Kale and gain access to the Snag'em hideout. This is where past Shadow Pokemon that you failed to capture will appear, especially one of the other trainers who have the second evolution to the other Johto starters. After this capture, Net will have some busy work for us that will gain access to the last Johto starter, which leads us back to the Shadow Pokemon Lab. Where Ein was at, this is where the final Johto starter evolution can be caught. After this battle, Wes and Rui head back to Team Snag'em hideout to capture a Shadow Smeargle and Ursaring. At this point, there should be no reason to head to Team Snag'em hideout anymore, since majority of the missing Shadow Pokemon have been caught. But you have to battle Gonzap one last time, even if you caught his Shadow Skarmory, since he gives you an item called the D-Disc that allows you to go down deeper than the Under, to a Colosseum called Deep Colosseum. This Colosseum is where Wes and Rui can capture Sudowoodo and the legendary beasts, but of course the Deep King Agnol has a level 45 Shadow Shuckle, which the leveling sucks since at this point all of your Pokemon should be higher 60s to even close to 80s, so against this Shadow Shuckle, be very careful.
I'm thinking of Blissey probably has the highest or second highest. Anyway, as its ability, it knows Sturdy. Sturdy allows the Pokemon to survive with 1 HP if attacked at full HP with an attack that would otherwise knock it out. It also prevents one-hit KO moves, Fisher, Horndrill, Guillotine, or Sheer Cold. Shuckle is Bug and Rock. He's weak to Rock, Steel, and Water, strong against Bug, Grass, Psychic, Ice, and Dark, immune to nothing, and can damage.
After having all the Shadow Pokemon besides one, a ton of emos would be sent to Wes. Long story short is, people believe that Wes is attacking people with the Shadow Togetic. Of course, this isn't the case since we don't own a Togetic. Of course, with the email trail, we head back to the place where it all began, Outskirts Stands, where a 1-to-1 imposter Wes is standing right in front of him. This is the final Shadow Pokemon battle against Shady Guy Wes. This battle is quite easy honestly. At this point your Pokemon should be overpowered houses, easily taken out Melodic, Houndoom, Armadillo, Mantrick, and Gyarados with ease. The only problem that I had with this battle is how low level Togetic was. At level 20, Togetic can go down in one hit with any Pokemon that you use, so be very cautious at this point. After the battle, a Cypher peon named Fane, get it, was behind all of this. But with him being defeated, the main game of Pokemon Colosseum is over, but there's one more Pokemon that you can obtain. To do this, you need to capture and purify all Shadow Pokemon and complete either singles or doubles on Mount Battle and Battle Mode, and you have to use your Colosseum team. Completing these 2 tasks will have you obtain Ho-Oh, and honestly this is a doable challenge. It is not too difficult or too tricky.
Ho-Oh has arrived.
Overall, Pokemon Colosseum is a true Pokemon game to itself. Now, what I mean about this, I can see why people don't like it. People wanted a mainline Pokemon game on the Nintendo GameCube, when you can catch the overall total number of Pokemon, battle in the gyms to defeat the Elite Four and be the very best, and of course with Pokemon Colosseum we didn't get that. Well, we got the later half of that. I know people also don't like this game because really you can't build up a team that you can call your own. You have to use the Pokemon that are given to you. But hear me out on this. I think this game is great for new players of Pokemon. The reason why I say this is if you look, especially now, there are over 800 Pokemon. To someone who is new to the franchise, that might be too big of a number and they do not know where to start off at. That's why I can say a game like Pokemon Colosseum that only has up to Generation 3 could be a good starting point to see if that new person can get a reliable team put together and then move forward into the other generations. After doing my playthrough series on Pokemon Colosseum, I have a brand new love for this game. I have caught and purified all the Pokemon before, but now doing both Mount Battle challenges on both story and battle mode, I can say that I really enjoyed my time with this game. The Pokemon that they decided to use as Shadow Pokemon were wise choices. Focus more on Generation 2 since it is very difficult to get those Pokemon around the release of this game. I will say this, the Pokemon designs granted both Gen 1 and Gen 2 are reused from Pokemon Stadium 1 and Pokemon Stadium 2. Don't look all that bad, especially Generation 3. Those Pokemon look to be the best designed Pokemon in this game. Yes, this game doesn't have the nostalgia as Pokemon Stadium series did, but it does push Pokemon forward with the battle mechanics and the battle camera. Both will even be improved in later generations to come. The other downfall of this game that I do have to say though, after you beat the story and get all the Shadow Pokemon, there isn't anything else to do really. The endgame is truly something that went by really quick. I wish the endgame was the only thing that was longer and probably even more grander. But with all this being said and done, I hope you all enjoyed this in-depth review of Pokemon Colosseum. See you guys on the next video and thank you for watching.